comes to replacing Tari, besides the minutes and how they get distributed, the things he does, the things he brings, how do you make up for not having that from him?
I think we have some guys who are somewhat similar to the things he does. You got a guy like Jay Sean and some of the things he does. Tari kind of does them all in one, but Jay Sean and other guys, Jeff Green, we can kind of do it by committee. So he's very unique and instinctual in the way he gets loose balls, gets his hands on balls, and some of the things he does. Just random at times, kind of against the game plan at times, but he comes up with the ball, so kind of turn a blind eye to it. But yeah, he's very unique as far as that. But the guys we have, like I said, we got good wing depth, and we feel they can do it by committee.
How do you manage the minutes for a rookie as far as do you play them based off of just skill set, or do you say, okay, this is the first regular season game, you played the preseason, but this is a regular season game, and you got to get them acclimated to play in those type of games and situations?
Yeah, I think we go in with somewhat of a plan, rotation-wise, and then figure out the game from there based on how they're playing, different situations matchup-wise, but we also like certain combinations, and we've seen that from my man and Cam. And so we'll go in with this game plan, and how they react to everything is how we'll react to who we're playing more. But not a set amount of time, and like I said, everybody's up for competing for minutes now, and so I would say it's not like we're handing over minutes or anything like that, just based on his rookie and him one of those guys needing to be able to play. It's more so based on how they're playing out there with certain units.
Kind of piggybacking off that for a moment, are you more prone to, if a player is struggling, to maybe give them a little bit of that extra run to see if they can break out of it in a game, or if they're having a bad half or whatever, you're like, all right, you're just going to sit down the rest of the game?
No, I don't think you judge the guy off a half. Some of these guys are first time in that real NBA game, let alone young guys playing, and so we're not going to judge somebody off a half of missed shots or certain turnovers or anything like that. We obviously are going to coach them up and point those things out, but we're not. I'm not into yanking guys. I'd rather play one guy 9-10 minutes as opposed to three guys 3 minutes, and so 3 minutes each, and so they'll get their chance, and we go in, whether it's a 5-game look or whatever the case may be, we're going to give them a pretty good look.
Coach, Alperen Sengun took a big leap in minutes last season in his second year, just under 30, I believe. Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic, two elite big men in this league, went from just under 30 to about 34 minutes in the third season. Do you expect something similar from Sengun in his third season as well?
I wouldn't specify amount of minutes. I'm not really looking at that as much as growth and progress. And so, the guys that we have, the young guys, they all have taken that jump at one time or another, and we expect him and the others to do the same thing this year. So, the more minutes, the better you play. You get the more minutes, obviously, but we understand where he's at in his progression and his growth, and so we expect all those guys to take a jump, and especially him.
Coach, the Magic are one of the biggest teams in the league. How does that affect your rotation tonight and maybe your game plan?
It doesn't really. We have, good depth in general, but also big wings that we're confident in guarding bigger players. And, like you look at a guy like Ime and, Jeff Green can go up or down, Jabari as well. So we can match pretty much any lineup as far as going, bigger at the three spot or, downsizing and feeling comfortable. So it really doesn't matter as far as that. There's specific players that you want to have matchups on, but in general, we feel comfortable going either way.
How much easier does that make your job as a coach when you got as many guys that are versatile and can play multiple positions?
Yeah, it's definitely a luxury. Like I said, you play men out there, and you can play them with Fred, Jalen, or any other combination. He can guard 1 through 3, 1 through 4 at a time. Dylan the same thing, Jay Sean the same thing, and when Tari's back and Jabari and Jeff, we feel the versatility is a plus for us. So comfortable with several different guys guarding different players, and Magic are some bigger wings with Franz and Paolo, and so they have some big wings there, but we feel comfortable with several different guys matching up with those guys.
What's the one area of this team you hope to see them grow the most this season?
Defensively, a lot of areas that we struggled last year. We pointed out transition and guarding the three-point line. A lot of things across the board we were poor in a lot of categories, so we pointed out those things and made an emphasis coming into it. And we've improved in the 5 games in preseason, but I need that to carry over during the season. Offensively as well, just more unselfish. I get the assist numbers up, play more efficient basketball. So it's a little bit across the board, I think, in general. And the numbers kind of show that, but that'll all be reflected by the wins if we're playing the right way.
Coach, what's been your evaluation of a guy like Fred and Dylan coming into this locker room, helping run the room, the young guys like Amen and Cam as well too, this offseason?
Yeah, I think it's been noticeable from day one. You know, the evaluation was they are who we thought they were when we went after them and ultimately signed them. And so the leadership is not only vocal, it's day in and day out professionalism, their work ethic, their routine that our guys it rubs off on our young guys. So
Anything noticeably that stuck out from whether it was a guy like Fred VanVleet or even Jeff Green or anything that's really stood out to you specifically though?
Fred, just being the leader that he is, he does it in multiple ways, but he's very vocal and pulling guys aside every chance he gets in practice. But he started that in the summer, hanging out with guys and getting dinners out in LA, and a lot of guys spent their time out there, and so he was getting with all the young guys on that note. Jeff is a little different. Where I had him in Brooklyn, he's around KD, Kyrie, and James now he's here in a different role and capacity, and he's much more vocal than he was there with a veteran-laden team. So it's good to see that from him. And then a guy like Dylan is just on the court, he does it, and he doesn't talk as much, but he's a lead by example guy, and they've all paid off in their own way.
We talked about the rookies earlier, but for yourself, this would be the first regular season game that you've coached in a long time. Will you take a couple of minutes before the game to just reflect on being back on the sidelines?
It's only been a few months, not that long, but in general, I think for me it was the first time when I was in Boston, and you get these firsts out, and it's kind of normal routine at that point. So they asked that when I played in San Antonio last week, because I've already done that, gone against Pop, and then every arena is kind of when you knock out those the first year, it's nothing more to it other than back to your normal routine. So I don't really look at it as far as any pinch me moment, but been there, done that, ready to get on with it.
Especially with so many young guys on the roster, kind of a big game, first game for a men Cam. How do you maybe kind of try to have to calm them down and kind of get them prepared and leveled out for a game like this, rather than being anxious or anything like that?
I think those guys have shown that they've taken a step, kind of in stride from summer league to even open gym and preseason games, and so with them, I think they've all played on a high level before and they've handled it well. So we want them to be energized and play with the effort that they always do. Of course, first time they're going to be anxious to some extent, but when you get out there, it's kind of hit the ground running, get back to basketball, and Amin is a very mature guy, for his age, and carries himself that way. So I don't have a lot of fear that he'll be anxious or anything. If anything, he'll be more energized, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Anything else?
Everybody besides Tari healthy and available?
Yes.
Where have you seen, obviously a limited sample size with Amin in the preseason, but where have you felt maybe he's grown? Is the game slowing down for him already?
Yeah, I think it did. You really noticed it in the Miami game. At times we're putting guys in different situations with different lineups throughout the first 4 games, and Fred and guys are sitting, so they're with some guys that they haven't played with as much, but when he got kind of in the set rotation in that last game, he really looked great. Obviously, his numbers showed that, but for him, he's been doing that since, he played the 3 quarters in Summer League and was really good in that, but he's done that since he's been here. So, the thing that not surprised me, but they talked about his lack of shooting. He's a very competent shooter still, and he's worked extremely hard at that already, and we've seen the improvement. So, a big part of becoming a good shooter is not being scared to take them. You see guys that are afraid to take them, and that's not him at all. So, one area of weakness that he needs to improve, and he's kind of hitting it head on.
Coach, Jabari struggled a little bit sometimes with his shot last season. Shot about 40%, I believe. What can you do this season to get him in better spots and have a guy that's get downhill, get to the basket, shoot a higher percentage this season?
Yeah, just make it easier on him, and make it a more efficient game for him. At times he was just a spacer, and so you kind of live and die by the 3, and you're not making him. You start to press a little bit, and so we want to move him around and use his versatility. He gets a guy that can post, handle some, ISO some, as well as spot up, and so we're using them different ways and try to make it more efficient. But guys get a little thirsty when they don't get their shots, and we want to make sure he's getting the good looks that we know he can make.